Hello, my name is Rowan Yeoman. I'm a venture manager with the Ākina Foundation based in Auckland, New Zealand. And I'm going to run you through this support tools short webinar, and we're going to talk about customer segmentation. So these support tools are designed to help people primarily working with social enterprises and helping them develop and be successful. And so that might be intermediaries or consultants or people working in the community sector, anyone who's supporting early stage social enterprises and wanting to help them take a sensible and structured approach to what they're doing and increase the chances of them succeeding. So today we're going to talk about customer segmentation, and the tool we're going to try out is the Spire methodology, which will hopefully make sense in time as to why it's called Spire anyway. So firstly, what is customer segmentation? Customer segmentation is really the process of understanding of the broad group of people who may be your customers, who may become customers of your social enterprise. How do we slice those up into understandable groups or segments, and then figure out which one or ones are going to be the mainstay of our business? So which one or ones are going to be the core customer segment that is going to lead our social enterprise to success? And when do we need to do this? It's good to do this as early as we can, because not until we've really understood our customer segmentation can we know enough about our customers to develop the rest of our business model in a coherent way. Only when we really understand who our customers are can we go and understand what, specifically what problem they have that we can solve for them, and specifically what value proposition they're going to engage with. And then also all the rest of the business model. How much will this particular customer segment pay for the product or service that we're delivering? Different customer segments may have different abilities to pay or different ways of paying. So without understanding our customer segments, it's really hard to flesh out the rest of the business model. So you need to do this early, and it's really one of the core components of your original idea. So this is the Spire model. It's basically a simple grid. Down the bottom is a link to the Customer Dev Labs webinar on this. And so this is Justin Wilcox, I think, created this tool. Well, his tool is pretty similar to this one. And he walks you through how to use it. So jump on there if you want sort of more detailed and a bit of a different approach to understanding it. He's not focused on social enterprise. But basically, it's a grid, and you're wanting to list customer segments, you're wanting to understand the size of the market, the pain that the customer feels with the current solutions or lack of solutions, their ability to pay for a solution, your ability to access them, and then you want to be able to total that up into a number that's useful to give you a bit of a sense of where you should start with your customer segments. So the idea is you'll fill in on each line the different customer segments that you might have. If it's really obvious and you've only got one customer segment or two customer segments, you don't need to do this. But if you have 5 or 6 that you think might be useful, and definitely if there's disagreement to some extent in your team about which customer segment you want to access first, this is a really good exercise to start categorizing them. So what you want to do is, under the customer segment heading, you want to be listing all the different customer segments that you think could be those main ones that are really going to work for you. And then you want to start assessing, giving them a number from 1 to 3 on the size of the customer segment, the pain that they have, their ability to pay, the access you have to them, and then a total. So let's walk through an example just to help elucidate. So example, let's look at flying cars. So this is a prototype created by Larry Page, one of the founders of Google, and he has a dream of having these flying cars that two people can sit in them and they can travel at, 160 kilometers an hour, sort of half airplane, half quadcopter. and this is being developed in New Zealand at the moment, which is sort of why it's on my mind. I read an article about it the other day. So if we were developing this flying car and we were trying to figure out the business model for how we were going to do that profitably or at least sustainably, we would need to figure out our customer segments. And so there are lots of different people that may be customers for our flying car. So let's use the Spire model to figure that through. And so if we look in the customer segments column, one main customer segment would be CEOs of big companies. So those are people with lots and lots of money and very important and powerful positions. Taxi companies that are in the business of moving people around, young professionals in the business of commuting to and from work, and parents who drop their kids off at school. It's a bit of a hassle dropping your kids off at school. There's been some recent articles I've seen about mayhem on New Zealand roads as parents try and manage the gridlock and parking at dropping the kids off at school. And so how we would use the tool, if we looked at customer segments, the CEOs of big companies, size of the market, it's a sort of moderate size. There's a decent number of people that potentially would fit in this category, but not millions. The pain that they experience, I'd say, is pretty significant. Time is money for these people. And so time spent sitting in traffic, getting, say, to and from the airport or to and from work, I imagine is considerable and noticeable. The ability to pay is definitely there. They're the highest income earners of our societies. Our access to them is not great. It's quite hard to reach these people. Lots of people are trying to reach them, and certainly reaching lots of them is quite difficult. So we'd give them a 1 for that. So that gives them a score of 2 for size, 3 for pain, 3 for ability to pay, 1 for access, and a total of 9. Taxi companies, for that matter, definitely bigger. There's lots of taxis, lots of opportunity for volume there. The pain at present is probably pretty low, that their business model is functioning and they're not feeling the burn and the pain of not having a faster way of getting people from place to place. They earn, based on the time that people are in the vehicle. So it's not like they're losing money because of people being stuck in traffic and their drivers being stuck in traffic. Their ability to pay, it's there, they're companies, but they're also relatively thin margin business, and they're being disrupted by Uber and other ride sharing companies. So probably not huge ability to pay, but definitely money there. Access, it's probably relatively difficult. I mean, you could get a conversation with a taxi company, but it's probably relatively difficult to sort of get in and sell to them. So we give them a total of 7. Young professionals, it's a pretty small market of young professionals that could really make use of this, I believe. The pain, there is definitely some pain there around commuting, but I don't think it's agonizing. Ability to pay is very low. And access, it's reasonably good. You can reach a bunch of young professionals via Facebook and things like that. So it's not super easy, but it's decent. We give them a 2 for that and a total of 6. And parents who drop their kids off at school. Size of the market, actually, I think 1 is probably a bit wrong there. I think the size of the market is pretty huge. There's lots of parents who drop their kids off at school. The pain, I think it's probably a hassle, but it's not critical. It's probably not costing them vast amounts of money or anything like that. It's just more of a hassle. Ability to pay, I'd say relatively low unless it's very high income parents, which would be a subcategory customer segment. And access is okay. You can probably reach a bunch of parents who drop their kids off at school. Not super easy, but still relatively easy. So we'd give them a 6. So if this was your business, your social enterprise that you were starting, you'd look at this and you'd kind of go, I think CEOs of big companies are probably our starting point. It's not a cut and dried approach, but it starts to give you that indication of where the best opportunities are. And so with this, you'd probably start with CEOs of big companies. You'd build the business model canvas, the social lean canvas or the lean canvas for that business model, and you'd go out and you'd start testing it. Make sense? So why is it helpful? It helps the whole team get on the same page about who your social enterprise will serve. And this is actually really, really important because so often we see social enterprises that don't have clarity about who they're actually targeting as a customer. And therefore, they don't have clarity, like I said before, about the whole business model because a different customer segment will have implications all the way through the business model. So it helps everybody get on the same page and have some of those hard conversations early. It's a quick way to learn where to start with your customer validation. So once you've got clarity about who your customer segment is, it's really easy to then go and figure out, okay, how are we going to find these people? How are we going to have conversations with them? How are we going to start validating that they do have the pain we think they have, that they do have the means to pay, that they will engage with our value proposition. And finally, if the top segment doesn't pan out, you can just go down the list to the next best option. So it is an opportunity to brainstorm all of your possible customer segments. You can throw them all in there and you can have 10 of them or 20 of them and actually go through and just kind of go, well, which ones actually might be good? You may have started your social enterprise and then ground to a halt when you realize that your customer segment is wrong and you might be stuck. And so you just brainstorm all the different possible customer segments you might have, go down that list, and then pick out the top 5 and start kind of going, okay, what might it be like to flesh out a business model for each of these and see which has options. So yeah, some really useful purposes. Like I say, if you've only got one customer segment or 2 customer segments, don't bother doing this. It'll be obvious where you should start. And if you have 2 and you can't decide between them, you can just build a canvas for each one and then see which one looks good, but you don't need to go through this whole exercise. So next steps, I'd recommend visiting whareaki.org, which is Ākina's resources website. On there, there's some support tools, short videos on types of social enterprise, on stages of social enterprise, and on prioritization. So those are all tools for people supporting social enterprise to help them understand where they're at, what they need to do next, how to take their next steps. And so customer segments are a useful thing to be able to understand. And then from there, you can understand prioritization, or you can understand stages and types of social enterprise. There's also a bunch of webinars that are useful to watch on there. There's the Introduction to Social Enterprise and Introduction to the Social Link Canvas, where you can understand how social enterprise works and how social link canvas works, to be able to take that customer segment and start saying, okay, what would my next steps be? How would I start based on this? And how would you support the social enterprise to start based on this? And then finally, just another link there to Justin Wilcox's workshop on the Spire model, like I mentioned before, not focused on social enterprise, but a good longer form tool on how to run that process. Thank you and good luck.